This is Facets of Connection, where we are transforming relationships within an evolving world. Brought to you by Relational Life Foundation and hosted by me, Sarah Melissa Oswald. This exclusive podcast series delves into the heart of human connection, exploring how we learn, love, and collaborate within a dynamic society. We'll uncover the power of respectful relationships and their essential role in the human experience. I invite you to embark on a journey with me to create a more connected, empathic world for future generations. I recently had the privilege of stepping into a world that few ever see. The world inside the Colorado State Penitentiary and another prison called Beacon at Skyline. They're both in Canyon City, Colorado. I was invited by the founder of the Realness Project, which is a nonprofit whose mission is to inspire safer communities for all by bringing relational leadership training to prison inmates. I've known about this type of work for a decade and have always been called to get involved in some way. So when Lori asked me to be her guest at an upcoming graduation, it was a very easy yes for me. This visit, however, was more than just a follow-up to my recent podcast episode about this work, which, if you've not listened to it yet, I highly recommend pausing here and going to find episode number 4 with Lori Lazar. This trip for me with Lori was a profound journey into what felt like the heart of human resilience, a view of transformation, and a view of the power of human connection. For me, the experience began long before we walked through the prison gates. It began when I received an email, which included instructions, very detailed instructions about what I was allowed to wear into the prison, what colors I could wear, what type of jewelry I could have on, what things I was allowed to bring inside with me. Even the drive down from where we live in Boulder felt like entering a new reality. Honestly. Lori and her team prepared the guests with thoughtful questions, like tools to help us engage with inmates. And perhaps more importantly, to remind us not to shrink away from any potential discomfort. The Realness Project is rooted in a simple but perhaps radical belief that all humans are good at their core. I'll say that again because it's so important. All humans are good at their core. Every single human on this planet has the potential for growth, for transformation, if given the opportunity. In my perception, the prison system, by design, seems to be about separation and dehumanization. From the many stories that I got to hear, it seems that perhaps prison staff are purposely trained to view inmates as less than human, perpetuating what feels like cycles of isolation and despair. The Realness Project stands in stark contrast, offering an opportunity and pathway back to aliveness, which in my witnessing, I found to be a state where people are inspired to become their best selves. Aliveness. I got to experience this aliveness from the prison inmates. As Lori often quotes from Mary Lou Kaunacki, there isn't anybody that you couldn't love once you've heard their whole story. This quote, the truth of this quote, became louder and louder for me throughout the 2 days that I spent in prison. The Realness Project is teaching what they call relational leadership training, which, funny enough, is also an RLT acronym. Through this program, inmates get to explore a new approach to living, to welcome in their experience, to be in their bodies, to check their assumptions and to own their stories, while honoring both themselves and other human beings at the same time. The inmates are supported to practice and embody this work. And eventually, some of them even become facilitators themselves. The ripple effect here is real. It was felt in my cells. The experience that I had was not what I expected it to be. I had some expectations walking in there, and every single one of them was blown out of the water. Walking into the Colorado State Penitentiary, I was setting up in a large room. We had brought in tons of food to celebrate this graduation with them. And suddenly, doors opened on the other side, and about 45 men in prison wear walked into the room. And I expected myself to feel tense. I expected to not really know how to connect, even though connection is what I thrive on and what I feel like I know most in this world. But I was met with such deep warmth, respect, intelligence, qualities I wish were more common outside prison walls. Nearly every single one of them, these participants, inmates, nearly every one of them walked up to me with their palm out to shake my hand. They looked me right in the eye, thanked me for visiting. And I felt their willingness to connect with me, human to human, heart to heart. There was no pretense, no small talk. They were present with me. Their hearts were wide open. It was beautiful to be in that space. I understand this was a peak experience for them. They were there to celebrate something really meaningful to them. It was such an honor to be in that room. Many of the men I spoke with opened up about the impact of this program on them. And so I thought I would share a few quotes here. Here are some of the ones that touched me most. I met one guy. His name was Oscar, 26 years old. He's been in prison since he was 17. He was a delightful young man, truly delightful and wise, smart beyond his years. And he was speaking and he said to me, I went from gangster to gentleman, quick. He said, now I can actually look at myself when I'm brushing my teeth in the mirror, because I know I'm working toward being the best version of myself. And I know that I can become it, he said to me. He went on to say, growth is hard. As we all know, growth is hard, but he's embracing it. He said, it doesn't matter that I'm in prison. I'm still going to live my life like it's beautiful. Here's another one, a program participant named Dan. He said, I've never in my life been this close to any group of men. I've had the opportunity here to help create a safe space like the one that was created for me. And that's why I keep coming back to do this program over and over again. Another guy, Maxwell, he said, I'm not a social person. but this class has taught me how to communicate, open up to a group. This program is crashing down walls and opening doors. I sat through a graduation of this relational leadership program, and participant after participant after participant got up to the microphone with joy, with such willingness and excitement to share their story. They shared about the profound impact that relational tools had on them. You could tell these men had transformed in major ways, and it broke me open in a way that I can't say I've ever experienced before. What I left with was this realization that had I been born into a different body, a different family, a different culture, or a different environment, any one of their stories could be my own. I had much more in common with them than I ever could have imagined. Being inside, in prison, like this, hearing these stories, I was forced to confront some uncomfortable truths about our justice system. Things that we don't typically allow ourselves to think about because they're so horrific. I was sick to my stomach hearing some of the stories. How as a society, can we expect people to embody higher moral codes when the system itself doesn't model it? How can we possibly expect people to come out of prison any better than they were when they got themselves in? And then the other questions for me started surfacing, like, what does it mean to be just? To be fair? What does justice really mean? The Realness Project doesn't just ask these questions. It offers answers to them. Not through theory, but through lived experience and genuine connection. The participants spoke to me of discovering a new type of brotherhood, of finding a new sense of family in this group of people that they would not have been interacting with outside of this program. Through this work, they were supported to endure the pain of incarceration by fostering what I kept hearing the men call a realness mentality, which I gathered more about the values of vulnerability and courage and hope. Being stuck in a place that's designed to isolate. Programs like this are building bridges and lifelines. I witnessed mothers in joyful tears as they connected with their incarcerated sons at these graduations. Some even got to the microphone and, with tears streaming down their face, talked about the transformation they're seeing in their children. One even said, if it weren't for this program, my son would be dead. I left these graduations deeply moved by the resilience of the human spirit. Lori talked about loving the seemingly most unlovable parts, both in ourselves and in others. This seems like the ultimate act of courage, huh? This work is proof that if given the right environment, people can and do transform. To me, it was proof that all humans are fundamentally good, that human beings have the potential to become more fully alive. The men I met were so alive in a way that I couldn't have expected. I walked in there, as I said, with some expectations, and I was proved wrong over and over and over. And at the end of the day, when I was told we needed to pack up and get out, I have to say, I did not want to leave. I felt I had made some deep connections, some friends. I didn't want to leave them. I wanted to stay. And I feel committed to going back, teaching there, and further supporting the lifeline that's being extended to these humans. If you're as moved by these stories as I was by this experience, I truly encourage you to listen to that episode with Lori Lazar. The things that she talks about will blow you open. And I invite you to join the ripple of human connection, to learn more about Realness Project, because her stories are so powerful, absolutely life-changing. And I encourage us all to challenge ourselves and one another to experience humanity in everyone, and to believe, as Lori does, that there truly isn't anybody you couldn't love once you've heard their whole story. Thank you for listening. Thanks for listening to this episode of Facets of Connection. This show is brought to you by Relational Life Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to ending the chronic epidemic of loneliness by fostering community and transforming relationships. Its mission is focused on building stronger, more connected communities through research on relational health and through accessible therapeutic services and education. If you'd like to support this work, visit relationallifefoundation.org. Your generosity helps us make relational support available and accessible to more communities. On another note, I'd love to hear from you. Whether you've taken a workshop through Relational Life Foundation, if you're working with an RLT therapist, or simply if you have a guest or a topic to recommend for a future episode of Facets of Connection. I want to know, what's resonating with you? What's shifting? Or what are you still sitting with? Send me a quick voice memo or an email to Sarah with an H at facetsofconnection.com. Your story might even be featured in a future episode. I look forward to hearing from you. Facets of Connection is created by me, Sarah Melissa Oswald. Our executive producer is Carrie Allison Maloney, and our digital producer is Kim Novak. Follow us here on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts. Thank you in advance for your support. See you soon. Thanks for listening to this episode of Facets of Connection. This show is brought to you by Relational Life Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to ending the chronic epidemic of loneliness by fostering community and transforming relationships. Its mission is focused on building stronger, more connected communities through research on relational health and through accessible therapeutic services and education. If you'd like to support this work, visit relationallifefoundation.org. Your generosity helps us make relational support available and accessible to more communities. On another note, I'd love to hear from you. Whether you've taken a workshop through Relational Life Foundation, if you're working with an RLT therapist, or simply if you have a guest or a topic to recommend for a future episode of Facets of Connection. I want to know, what's resonating with you? What's shifting? Or what are you still sitting with? Send me a quick voice memo or an email to Sarah with an H at facetsofconnection.com. Your story might even be featured in a future episode. I look forward to hearing from you. Facets of Connection is created by me, Sarah Melissa Oswald. Our executive producer is Carrie Allison Maloney, and our digital producer is Kim Novak. Follow us here on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts. Thank you in advance for your support. See you soon.